Her alien milk could heal anything, if you're brave enough to take it. He awoke to silence. Not the kind of silence that calms you. This one was sharp, heavy. The sort of silence that tells you something broke, and the universe hasn't figured out how to fix it yet. Cale Riven blinked, light scraped into his skull. White walls, pulse dimmed. Air tasted metallic, like old blood and sterile guilt. He was strapped to a smooth surface, half table, half bed, his limbs barely responding. He shifted. Pain answered first. His chest lit up with fire. Reflexively, his fingers found the long scar down his sternum, raised, fresh, surgical. The last thing he remembered was the explosion, Delta 4, the recon vessel, the ruptured fuel line. Then nothing. No, not nothing. There had been light, a shimmer, a touch, not human. And then the door hissed. Light changed. She entered. She moved like gravity had chosen her as its favorite. Every step shimmered faintly under her boots, casting ripples of silver blue across the floor. Her skin, smooth like living porcelain, glowed faintly under the overheads. A gentle phosphorescence, as though her heartbeat had been translated into light. Her name was stitched on the data plate on her chest. Verili, Cynthian. Healer caste, alien. She paused at the threshold, violet silver eyes scanning him. No smile, no fear, but something in her breath wavered. Their gazes locked. Cale expected coldness, sterility, professional detachment. What he saw, buried behind her perfect discipline, was remorse? Vitals stabilizing, she said, her voice like silk over broken circuits. Your cellular systems are responding. To what? Cale croaked. His voice was smoke and gravel. She stepped closer. Lights in the room adjusted without instruction, reacting to her proximity, but as if the space itself obeyed her presence. To me, she said simply. Then she raised her hand. Her fingers were long, elegant, tips glowing faintly with pulsating silver lines like veins of light beneath skin. She touched his forehead gently. If you want healing, she whispered, barely audible, just close your eyes. For a second he hesitated. Close his eyes? Trust an alien? Let her in? But something primal whispered yes. Not logic. Not survival. Something older. He obeyed. The world disappeared behind his eyelids. And then, light, but not seen, felt. A warmth unfurled in his chest, racing through him like a memory of sunlight. Not just across his skin, but through muscle, sinew, bone. Where pain had lived, now came a tingling surge. He gasped. Her palm remained steady against his brow. The light flowed from her, through her hand, into him. A milky white glow poured like slow starlight across his skin, filling his veins with something neither mechanical nor chemical. It was alive. He felt her. Not physically, emotionally. A tide of memory not his own. Starlit temples, hands reaching in sacrifice, the isolation of duty, the cold silence of healing hundreds, never being touched. His heart shuddered. She pulled away. Cale opened his eyes. The light faded, slowly. His skin still shimmered in subtle pulses like after-images of her essence dancing beneath his surface. What was that? He whispered. Essence, Vera said, stepping back. Her voice had changed, softer, or maybe just sadder. A fragment of myself given to you. He looked down at his arm. Under the skin, faint tracings of gold lit up in rhythm with his pulse, like growing roots, living circuitry. I feel different, he murmured. You are, she replied. You won't survive without it, but neither will you be the same. Cale sat up, slower this time. No alarms blared, no pain shot through him. Only heat, centered in his chest, where her fingers had rested. What did you do to me? He asked. She didn't answer. Just stood there, framed by light, watching him like a sinner watching someone kneel before a god they didn't believe in. He noticed her then, not just her beauty, but the contradiction of her. The way her body stood tall in that obsidian suit laced with glowing veins, yet her shoulders betrayed tension. She wasn't just a medic. She was afraid, not of him, of what she'd done. Why me? He asked. Silence again. Her gaze dropped for the first time. Protocol forbids emotional bonding, she said almost to herself. That answer nothing. It answers everything, she snapped suddenly, then caught herself. Her breath hitched, voice lowered. I touched you with essence, human. Do you know what that means? No, he said honestly. Her lips parted, then closed. She turned, started to leave. Wait, he called out. That thing you said, before the light, close your eyes. What did it mean? She paused at the doorway. It means trust, she said, and surrender. And the beginning of a bond that cannot be undone. Then she was gone. Cale sat alone. Beneath his skin, light pulsed softly. Like a second heartbeat, not his, hers. Cale's body ached with the echoes of something unnatural. Something divine. He sat upright on the medical bed, breath sharp, sweat cold against the base of his neck. His chest throbbed like a drum that beat to someone else's rhythm. He tugged at the collar of his issued tunic. The air inside the quarantine pod felt thinner now, like it was adjusting to something alive. He glanced down. Beneath the skin of his left forearm, a faint web of golden veins glowed, pulsing slowly under the surface. The lines weren't scars. They shifted, almost breathing. Bioluminescence in rhythm with his heartbeat, a soft chime. The door irised open with a sigh. Vera stepped in. She was clad in her full healer garb, obsidian bodysuit glimmering with the soft pulses of essence circuitry, her silver hair tied in a sleek loop down her back. Her eyes flickered as if reading invisible data, but when they landed on Kale, they softened. Her voice came like silk under pressure. "How do you feel?" Kale raised a brow, fingers tracing the glowing lines. "Like I borrowed someone's soul and forgot to return it." Vera hesitated. Her boots made no sound as she stepped closer. Around her, the ambient lights adjusted subtly, from sterile white to a muted violet hue, as if the room acknowledged her emotional presence. "That's not entirely inaccurate." Kale blinked. "What?" She reached for a control sphere and dimmed the room, leaving only ambient floor glows and the ever-present thrum of the pod's heartbeat sensor. Then she turned to him. Her face betrayed the conflict. Clinical duty versus quiet panic. "You've been marked," she said. "My essence responded to you. Not just to your wounds, but to you." He stood slowly. "What the hell does that mean?" Vera lifted her palm. From the center of her skin, a shimmer began to form. A bead of glowing white gold light floated, pulsing faintly. It was beautiful, alive, terrifying. "This," she whispered, "is part of me. It's how my kind heals. But once shared, it does not return unchanged." Kale felt a spike of energy in his chest. The golden veins under his skin responded, brightening, flickering like startled fireflies. Vera inhaled sharply, as if feeling it herself. "You feel that?" he murmured. "Not a question." She nodded slowly. "I'm not supposed to. Not with a human." They stared at each other, two species on the wrong side of protocol, connected by something that didn't care for rules or reason. "So what happens now?" Kale asked. Vera looked away, her fingers curled tightly. "You've bonded." There was silence. It rang louder than any alarm. "Is that like alien married?" He tried, cracking a weak grin. Her eyes flashed at him. "No, worse." Kale blinked. "Worse than marriage? Damn." She ignored the joke, pacing. Her form was graceful, but every movement spoke tension. She stopped by the wall and tapped in a sequence. A hologram emerged, Kale's body, full 3D render, with glowing tendrils looping from his chest to his brainstem. "My essence is now embedded in your neural lattice. It means your body is healing, yes, but also adapting." "Adapting to what?" Vera hesitated, then approached. She stood close enough that he could feel the static field of her suit. Her hand raised slowly, and then, without touching, hovered just above his heart. Kale's breath hitched, his heartbeat spiked, and the room lights flared briefly in golden response. "To me," she said, "you're adapting to me." Kale stumbled back. The glow dimmed again. "You mean I'm becoming one of you?" Vera's lips curled just slightly. "No, you're still human, but your soul is no longer alone." The line hit him like a pulse. "Okay," he exhaled. "That's poetic and a little creepy." Her eyes dropped, and something flickered in her voice. Fragile, barely audible. "I didn't mean to choose you." He paused. "Then why did you?" "I didn't choose," she whispered. "My essence did." There it was, something ancient, sacred, outside their control. He saw it in her eyes now. Not just fear, but sorrow. She was a healer trained to give, never to need. But now she was entangled. So was he. The silence stretched between them until Kale did what instinct always told him to do. He stepped forward. He raised his hand slowly, held it out, not to touch, but just to offer. "I don't know what any of this means," he said, voice low. "But I'm here, still breathing, thanks to you." Vera stared at the hand. The glow beneath her skin brightened subtly, illuminating her palm like liquid moonlight. She didn't take his hand, but she didn't walk away either. And that was enough. For now. Vera had vanished. The hallway outside Kale's med chamber was empty, sterile, and silent. Too silent. No trace of her voice, her essence, or the light she always seemed to bend around herself. She was gone. He sat up, fingers grazing the fading bioluminescent patterns still faintly visible on his forearm. The skin pulsed once, responding to memory rather than presence. "Coward," Kale muttered. Not about her, but himself. He had reached for her once, and she had touched his soul. Now she was gone, and he couldn't stop hearing her voice. "Close your eyes?" He had. And the universe had cracked open. Inside a secluded chamber, dim and quiet, Vera watched her skin shift colors. She was lying on her side, knees drawn up, arms around her stomach, like she could hold the changes back. But they came anyway, warm glows of pink-violet streaming beneath her turquoise skin like rivers of light. Her fingertips trembled as essence rippled down her spine in waves. She hadn't meant to bond. She had followed procedure. She had initiated emergency healing like any Synthian healer would. Only, her voice had trembled. Her hand had lingered. Her breath had caught when his heart had stuttered beneath her touch. "If you want healing, just close your eyes." She whispered it aloud now, and the words tasted dangerous. Kale stood in front of the sealed door to the medical garden, what Vera had referred to in passing as essence cultivation environments. Plants inside responded to frequency and emotion. It was alive in a way no machine ever was. The door refused him. "You're not authorized," the interface chirped. He exhaled hard through his nose. "Yeah?" Neither was being exploded into orbit and waking up glowing like a goddamn Christmas tree. Then he paused. The light near the door flickered. Just a moment. Just a breath. Inside, Vera blinked, sensing the air shift. Her dreams had been unstable. She'd seen Kale, his scarred chest, his confused gaze, his stupid, stubborn human heartbeat. She hated how her skin would flush warm at the thought of him. Her people did not burn with desire. Not like this. She had dreamt him saying her name without honorific. She had liked it. Vera, her pulse spiked. The veins under her skin pulsed again, betraying her. She shoved a pillow over her head and screamed into it with soft alien frustration. Kale had started pacing. He couldn't stop thinking about how her hand had trembled against his skull. How he had felt his nerves reboot under the flood of light that poured from her. Not pain. Not even pleasure. Something stranger. As if parts of him long dead had come roaring back. A bond, she'd called it. But then, she ran. Was it pity? Duty? Was he just a patient? A light cough drew his attention. The medic drone floated beside him, blinking cheerfully. "You appear to be exhibiting elevated neuroemotional distress. Would you like a sedative?" Kale gave the drone a look. "Do you have one for abandonment issues and unresolved bioluminescent intimacy?" The drone blinked twice. "No," he sighed. "Didn't think so." Inside the greenhouse chamber, Vera sat cross-legged in the center of a softly glowing clearing. Bioluminescent vines curled around her like protective guardians. Her breathing was shallow, her thoughts weren't. This is how it starts, she feared. Her mentor had warned her. If you bond with an outsider, you will lose the anchor to yourself. You will drown in their chaos. But she wasn't drowning, she was floating. That terrified her more. "Vera, open the damn door." His voice echoed through the system, distorted by the hallway speaker. She froze. "You can feel me, can't you?" She hated that he was right. Her skin shimmered with pink heat. Kale leaned against the door, his hand pressed flat to the cold panel. "I don't know what this is, but I know I'm not the same." He swallowed. "You did something to me, and maybe I'm not supposed to understand it, but you can't run from it either." Silence. Then, "You're not supposed to feel it this strongly, not this fast." Her voice barely a whisper through the comm panel. "Then what's happening? Your biology, it's too wild, too receptive. Your kind weren't meant to bond like this. Too late." "Kale, I didn't ask for this," he said, "but I'm not sorry." Her breath caught. "I dream about you," he said softly. "I think your essence is screwing with my head. You shouldn't say these things." "Then let me see you, or I'll keep talking until the plants die of secondhand embarrassment." A long pause, then the door clicked open. They didn't speak at first. The room pulsed with ambient light, a violet-pink glow rising in waves like ocean tides. Kale stepped into the garden slowly, taking in the lush, breathing walls. Vines shimmered as he passed, sinking to his pulse. Vera stood among them, back to him, hair like melted silver, skin faintly glowing. "Why did you open the door?" he asked. "Because I can't breathe when you're near. And I can't breathe when you're not." That stopped him. "That's messed up," he said. "I know." He stepped closer, not touching. Just close enough to feel her warmth. "You think I'm a mistake? I think you're a catalyst," she said, "and I wasn't made to explode." Then she turned. Their eyes met. "What happens if you stop resisting?" he asked. "You'll ruin me. We're already broken. Might as well break the rules." She laughed. It surprised them both. Then she touched his chest. Light bloomed under her fingers, bright, sharp, and beautiful. His heart answered in rhythm. Boom, boom, boom. Kale's boots echoed lightly on the soft bioglass floor as he moved deeper into the greenhouse module. The air here was thicker, humid, rich with oxygen, tinged with the faint sweetness of alien chlorophyll. Towering translucent leaves glowed faintly in lavender and teal, pulsing in sync with the ambient lighting system. Or maybe with something else entirely. He wasn't supposed to be here. But neither was she. Vera stood at the far end of the chamber, one hand pressed against a glowing pod of photosynthetic vines, the other clenched at her side. Her silver hair was tied back today, strict healer mode, but her shoulders were tense, her breath uneven. She didn't turn when he entered. "You're avoiding me," Kale said, voice quiet, but not soft. "You shouldn't be here." Her voice carried across the foliage, cool and measured. He took a step closer, leaves brushing against his arms like curious fingers. "Funny, that's what everyone keeps telling me, the doctors, the system. You." She turned, slowly, and the light shifted, like the room held its breath. Vera's eyes met his, those glowing lilac irises reflecting the bioluminescence around them. "You're changing," she said. Her voice held no accusation, just wonder, fear. "So are you," he replied. "You've been glowing in my dreams." Her breath caught, subtle, but enough. Around them, the leaves trembled, responding to their body heat, their pulse. A nearby vine burst a soft pink blossom without warning. "You feel it too," Kale said. "Don't you?" Vera closed the distance between them with 2 sharp steps. Her fingers hovered, barely grazing the skin of his wrist. "No," she whispered, even as the veins beneath her hand lit up. Her bioluminescent markings shimmered, from cool turquoise to an uncertain violet. "I feel instability." Kale didn't move. "You think this bond is dangerous?" "I know it is," she said. "You're not Cynthian. You don't have the discipline." "Maybe not. But I have instinct, and mine says we're not done." He raised his hand and gently touched her collarbone, his fingers only barely making contact with the sleek black mesh of her armor. The lights across her shoulders flickered, as if startled. The plants reacted again, leaves turning, petals blooming with colors that hadn't existed a moment ago. The entire greenhouse became a living pulse. "What happens?" Kale said, voice low. "If you stop resisting?" For a moment, everything paused. Even the air. Vera didn't answer, but she didn't step away. Instead, her hand rose, slow, trembling, and brushed against the side of his jaw. Skin against skin. The contact lasted less than a breath, and then she pulled away, as if burned. "I can't," she whispered, stepping back. "If I do, I lose control, and when a healer loses control, people die." Kale swallowed. "And when a soldier resists pain, people still die." They stood in the silence of trembling flora, heartbeats echoing in the background hum of life support and photosynthesis. "You think I want this?" she said suddenly, eyes bright with fury. Or was it fear? "This bond? This ache in my bones when you're near? The essence inside me pulling toward you?" He stepped closer. "I didn't ask for it either, but I'm not turning away." The lights brightened, just a flicker, like the room itself acknowledged the choice hanging in the air. Finally, Vera spoke. "One touch, just one, then you leave." He nodded. She reached forward again, fingers brushing his pulse point where essence first entered him days ago. And this time, Kale met her halfway. His hand wrapped around hers, warm, grounding. Their vanguard markings lit up, his faint amber glow merging with her soft violet, blooming into a temporary white between their skins. Every plant in the room shimmered. Every heart in the room, both of them, skipped a beat. And just as suddenly, Vera yanked her hand away, chest heaving. "No more," she said. "If we continue, I won't be able to stop." Kale didn't argue, but before he turned to leave, he whispered, "Maybe that's the point." She said nothing. But long after he'd gone, Vera stood there, hands still tingling, heart betraying its rhythm, and wondered whether healing had finally found her. The alarms didn't blare. That was the terrifying part. Everything on Kara 7 ran silently, like a polished machine terrified of breaking protocol. So when the docking chamber blinked, a soft cyan, signaling the arrival of the Bioethics Evaluation Council, there was no sound. Only the flicker of light across cold metallic walls and the rush of adrenaline in Vera's chest. She didn't flinch. She never did. But her fingers twitched. Her essence fluttered. Kale, leaning against the corridor wall with arms crossed, watched her mask slide into place like a closing shutter. "What's with the sudden wardrobe shift?" he said, nodding toward the sleek black uniform she'd swapped in. High-collared, no glowing vials, no open wrists. "All business." "Council's on board," she replied. "If they scan a regular essence alignment, they'll interrogate. Or worse." Kale grunted. "You mean like noticing your glowy veins and your sudden emotional instability whenever I breathe?" "Exactly," she deadpanned. He smirked. So what's the plan? Shove me in a locker and pretend I'm cargo. She turned, clipped a dad on her wrist. Worse. You're my new patient. I beg your pardon? Fake identity. Civilian survivor from Theta Null crash. Extreme biotrauma. Requires high-spectrum scanning and direct contact medical attention. Hold up. Direct contact? I thought we were avoiding. Vera's glare cut him off. You'll be sedated. Largely. Minimal speech. Try not to react if someone touches me. Kale's brow furrowed. Wait, someone's touching you? Before she could answer, the doors hissed open and a group of towering Cynthians glided into view. Tall, smooth-skinned, their eyes glassy with neutrality. White robes, blue veins, and hands clasped behind backs. The council. Vera turned on her heel, her voice suddenly clinical. This is the Theta patient. Trauma chart logged, scans incomplete. He's been stabilized, but essence reactions remain volatile. Kale lay on the gurney, trying his best to look half dead. Which, to be fair, wasn't hard. He still had phantom aches from his original injuries and the occasional essence aftershock. A male counselor approached. We sense minor irregularities in your alignment. That's expected, Vera replied coolly. I initiated emergency essence protocol. The counselor's gaze lingered. You performed direct transference without supervision? Kale's fingers twitched under the blanket. Vera stepped forward. I assumed full responsibility under Healer's Clause 12. There was a pause. Then the counselor reached out, placing 2 fingers lightly against Vera's wrist. The contact was formal, ritualistic, but immediate. Her skin responded, essence vibrating slightly beneath the surface. Kale's heart rate spiked. The bond flared. Just for an instant, a flash of light under his skin, amber and violet, blooming like wildfire. That guy really touched your wrist for 4 seconds? Kale blurted, then coughed loudly to cover it. Sorry, trauma vocalization reflex. Vera closed her eyes. Murderous. Composed. The counselor raised an eyebrow. He speaks? Unintentionally, she replied. Neuropathic residue. Another counselor leaned closer. He emits resonance patterns, unusual for baseline humans. Vera's jaw tightened. Hence the extended observation. The scan began. A hovering orb projected spectral light across Kale's body. Vera pretended not to react as the readings shifted. Essence bonds flickering dangerously close to detection thresholds. You may be excused, one counselor said finally. We will submit our report. They glided away. The door hissed shut. Vera didn't speak. She simply turned, exhaled, and let her forehead touch the cool metal wall. Kale sat up slowly. So do I get a sticker for good acting? She spun around, fire in her eyes. You nearly flashed essence in front of the council. You let someone touch you. It was protocol. I'm protocol now. Touch me next time. She stared at him, a long silence. Then, unexpectedly, Vera laughed, quiet, strange, as if the sound had been locked away her whole life and escaped by accident. Gods, she murmured, you are impossible. Kale grinned. Yeah, and apparently very hard to sedate. They didn't touch, not this time, but their shared laughter echoed through the sterile corridor and the lights dimmed slightly, as if the station itself could finally exhale. And somewhere, beneath metal and nerve, essence simmered, waiting. The breach came without warning. A tremor rippled through Keras 7's lower decks, followed by a low boom, subtle, distant, but unmistakable. The ship didn't groan. It shivered, like a giant creature suddenly aware of a wound. Kale was mid-sentence when the emergency lights kicked in, turning the sterile hallway into a tunnel of pulsating crimson. Vera froze beside him, every Von sang along her arms flaring pale violet in instinct. Did you just? Kale started. Unauthorized boarding, she said, eyes already calculating. They bypassed the outer seal. Biosignatures non-native. Pirates? Biopirates, she hissed. They'll come for the essence stores first. Alarms pulsed silently now. No sound, only light and vibration. Kale felt it in his ribs like a second heartbeat. He grabbed a med kit from the wall. You're not going alone. You're not trained. I'm unpredictable, he said, flashing a grin. Apparently it terrifies people. Vera didn't argue. She tossed him a low-pressure baton and activated a retinal map on her vambrace. They're heading toward Recovery Bay. That's where the other patients are, Kale said, already moving. The attack was surgical. The pirates wore bio-insulated suits, milky translucent skins that pulsed faintly with stolen essence. Their weapons weren't guns, but siphon tubes and suppressor fields. They weren't here to kill. They were here to extract. Vera burst through the lower hatch first, essence lighting her arms like divine veins. She moved fast, too fast, leaping between gravity panels as if the corridor belonged to her biology. Kale followed, less graceful but brutally efficient. A pirate lunged. He sidestepped, baton arcing into the man's throat with a thunk. Another tried to clamp Vera's shoulder with a siphon. Kale tackled him mid-air, twisting the tube off before it latched. The zero-G skirmish was chaotic, floating, flashing, slamming against bulkheads, but together, they moved like they had trained for this forever, and maybe, in some sense, they had. Bonded. Left corridor, Vera called. 2 more, guarding. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered, emergency foam sprayed into vents, and in the chaos Vera's wrist lit up. Her essence surged. She turned, saw a unit, chest caved in, gasping. A kid, barely past adolescence, his eyes locked with hers. She didn't hesitate. Vera dropped to her knees, pressed 2 fingers to his sternum. "Close your eyes," she whispered. The glow that passed from her was raw, golden, trembling like liquid dawn. The lieutenant gasped, bones moved, his lungs expanded. He lived. But Kale felt it the moment it happened. The bond, their bond, shivered, dimmed, like a candle losing its twin flame. He froze. "Vera," he said quietly. She looked up. "He would have died. That was ours," Kale said, voice tight. "I had no choice." "You did. You always do." Her face twisted in conflict. The corridor trembled again, another breach, but time had slowed now, caught in the gravity between them. "You wouldn't have let me choose otherwise," she said. Kale's fists clenched. His skin glowed faint, dim. "You didn't even ask." "Because I knew what you'd say." Silence. Then a scream from behind. The last pirate, lunging. Kale turned too slow, too distracted. The blow landed hard, sending him spinning into the air, crashing into the edge of a bulkhead. His vision went white. He felt the air leave his lungs. The bond went silent. Vera lost her breath. Kale. She ran. She didn't think. She didn't care who was watching. She slid beside him, blood from his brow already suspended in zero-G sparkles. Her essence flared. Von sang across her chest, bloomed, white into violet into gold. Her breath hitched. She reached for him. His chest rose, faintly, eyes fluttered open. "You came back," she whispered. "I didn't want to miss your next moral betrayal." She laughed, wet, breathless. Then she cried, not loud, just one tear that drifted off into weightless space. Later, in the medical bay, Vera sat beside Kale as he slept. The glow from his skin had returned, soft, steady, bond still intact. But something had changed. The essence wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trust, and trust was harder to heal than broken ribs. Kale woke alone. The medical bay was quiet, too quiet. No Von sang along the walls, no pulsing essence, just the steady bip of a monitor, and the dull ache where his ribs had tried to break apart from the inside. "Vera?" he croaked. Silence answered. Then a whisper. No, a breath of light leaking under the sealed door of the far chamber. Not white, not violet. Pink, not the soft hue of her usual essence, but something erratic, alive, raw. He pushed himself up. The skin under his collarbone shimmered, responding instinctively to the bond. A heat spread through his chest. Not pain. Not healing. Absence. He found the door locked. Manual override denied. Inside, Vera had locked herself away. Vera's hands trembled. The essence flowed out of her, unbidden, forming trails in the air like dancing ghosts. She sat cross-legged, body bathed in the shifting light of her own instability. Her suit peeled back from her arms and midriff, the skin beneath glowing too brightly. Like the pressure inside might crack her open from within. She couldn't regulate it anymore. Kale was too close, the bond too strong, and her mind, once trained, cold, precise, was now flooded with human chaos. Memories, warmth, anger, his voice, his heartbeat. She pressed her fingers to her own temple. "Stop feeling. You are not permitted to feel." But her body betrayed her. Essence throbbed at her sternum, the same way it had when she first touched him. She gasped as the wave pulsed again, her breath sinking with something outside her, and still the echo in her bones whispered, "He is yours. And you are his." Outside, Kale pounded the door. "Vera, open up." Static. He tried again. "I felt you. Something's wrong. Let me in." Still nothing. He lowered his head to the seam between the panels. "I'm not afraid of what you're becoming. You think I am, but I'm not. I'm afraid you're going through it alone." Silence. Then, her voice trembling, "I don't recognize myself anymore." Kale stepped back, fists tightening. "Good," he muttered, "because maybe that cold-ass version of you could use an update." Inside, Vera let out a soft laugh. It broke halfway, turned into a sob. She rose. Her bare feet glowed where they touched the cold floor. Her breath fogged in rhythm with her skin's radiance. Her Von sang rippled in chaotic waves, like heartbeat patterns gone wild. She approached the mirror on the wall, its surface now warped by light. She didn't see her face. She saw a womb. The chamber had become one. White, pulsing, fluid light climbing the walls. Her reflection no longer her own, but a merging of energy and biology. Like her soul was gestating, she pressed her hand against the surface. Her voice cracked. "Kale, I'm afraid if this completes, I'll lose my identity." Outside, the lights dimmed. The bond shimmered. A thread of it still connected them, pulsing weakly. Kale closed his eyes. He remembered her fingers on his chest, the warmth, the whisper. "If you want healing." Now it was his turn. He placed his hand on the panel, let his heartbeat slow, and he spoke soft, raw. "You didn't just heal my body. You broke through walls I didn't know I'd built. I need that. I need you." Another pause. Then, like a breath, "Even if it kills me." Inside, Vera crumbled. The essence surged. Her eyes went wide. Tears, real ones, broke down her cheeks and lifted into the weightless room like tiny stars. She touched the seal from the inside and whispered, "Don't move." The door hissed open. Light exploded outward, a wave of pink gold white washing over Kale like a dawn he hadn't earned. Vera stood there, barefoot, glowing, arms trembling. "I don't know what's happening to me," she said. Kale stepped forward. "Then don't go through it alone." She shuddered and fell into him, not like collapse, but like return. Their foreheads touched, the bond pulsed, and for the first time since the breach, her essence stabilized, color shifting into a warm, consistent violet. Thump, thump, 2 heartbeats, same rhythm. In the silence that followed, Vera whispered, "I think I'm pregnant." Kale blinked. "With?" She smirked, weak but real. "Your essence." He made a face. "That is not a sentence I ever expected to hear." She chuckled. And just like that, the breath of fear faded, replaced by a trembling sense of wonder. The door had opened, but nothing felt simple. Vera stood in the center of the room, essence still humming across her skin like a living aurora. Her breath stuttered in and out, each inhale glowing faintly violet, each exhale dimming like a dying star. Kale reached her, slowly. Not like a soldier this time. Not like a man who needed answers, but like someone who knew what it meant to approach a storm. And love it anyway. "Your skin is pulsing," he whispered. Vera blinked. "It does that now." He tilted his head, half teasing. "New setting, or?" She sighed, lips twitching. "Instability due to partial bond merger, elevated emotional triggers, and possibly your proximity." Kale grinned. "So, I am the problem." "Statistically, yes." Their laughter was soft, hesitant, but real. Vera took a step back, folding her arms tight across her chest like she could hold her core together by force. "I don't think I can control it anymore." She admitted, "The essence, what it wants, it keeps reacting to you. And I was trained my whole life not to let it lead." Kale looked around the room, the walls still gently glowing with the residue of her panic, now calming. "Then don't lead it," he said. She blinked. "What?" "Let it lead us." The words cracked something open. Her shoulders dropped. The room pulsed once, softly, like it had exhaled. "You don't understand," Vera murmured. "If we do this, if I bond with you fully, there's no protocol for it. I'll be stripped of my healer status. I'll be reclassified as contaminated." "Contaminated?" Kale echoed, stepping closer. "You make that sound like loving someone is a disease." "It is to my people, or worse, a deviation." He studied her for a moment, then reached out slowly and touched the center of her chest. Right where the essence pulsed brightest, soft lavender flickering beneath translucent skin. "I think deviations make the best stories." Time slowed, her breath hitched, his hand didn't move, but she leaned into it, eyelids fluttering, and when she opened them again, her voice was barely a breath. "Then bond." The word didn't sound like surrender. It sounded like a vow. Kale nodded once, and everything changed. The room erupted in light, not just violet now. White gold streamed from Vera's body like threads of silk caught in wind. It wound around Kale's arms, his torso, his throat, but didn't choke. It held. Kale gasped as something cracked open in his mind. Not pain, not memory, but presence. He saw flashes. Vera as a child, alone in a vat of essence, her training, her punishments, her silent defiance. The moment she first touched his bleeding chest and flinched, not from fear, but recognition. He staggered, but Vera caught him, hands glowing, eyes wide. "You're seeing it," she whispered. "You're showing me," he said, breathless. And then his pulse surged. His own light answered hers. For a heartbeat, the room filled with gold. Kale's scars lit up, glowing with essence pulled from deep within. Vera gasped. "You're returning what you gave," he said, gripping her hands. "But more." Their skin fused temporarily. At every point of contact, light erupted and stabilized. They weren't floating, but it felt like they had left the floor. A hum filled the chamber. Not mechanical, not even vocal. A third rhythm, neither his nor hers, a shared frequency. The echo of bond complete. Vera trembled. I can't go back to who I was. You're not supposed to, Kale said softly. She looked up at him. And what about you? He smiled, voice rough. I was nothing before this. They embraced. This time not as healer and patient, not as soldier and alien, but as something new. The bond glowed soft now, no longer blinding. It shimmered like moonlight. Soft, inevitable. Their heartbeats slowed into sync. Thump, thump, thum. The room dimmed, no longer sterile, no longer a cage. Just two beings, wrapped in light, breathing in silence. Kale ran a hand through her glowing hair. So, does this mean I'm officially part lamp? She snorted. Shut up. He kissed her forehead. Was that healer speak for yes? She smirked. Don't make me revoke your glow privileges. And somewhere behind them, the control panel flickered. Two biosignatures now registered as one. The chamber wasn't on any map. No one spoke of it. No Synthian ever entered unless the choice was irreversible. It was called the Soulfold. Vera stood at its threshold, her essence shimmering faintly violet beneath her skin. Behind her, Kale adjusted the loose straps on his chest armor, warily eyeing the bioorganic archway before them. Its surface rippled, alive, breathing. Looks like the inside of a lung, he muttered. Don't insult it, Vera said, barely hiding a smirk. It's sacred. Kale nodded. Right, sacred lung, got it. They stepped through. The world fell away. No gravity, no color, just an infinite expanse of white and heartbeat thuds echoing from no direction in every direction. Kale's POV fractured. He blinked, and suddenly he was 12 again. Desert, red skies, screams, his sister's hand slipping from his. The blast, the bones, the silence. He dropped to his knees, gasping. His fingers dug into sand that wasn't real, but it cut like glass anyway. A voice broke through. You fought your entire life because no one ever fought for you. Vera's voice, but not her. The soul-folded version of her, echoing inside his own pain. Don't, he rasped. Don't look at this. I have to, she replied, kneeling before him. Then it flipped. Now Vera stood in a sterile chamber, floating, surrounded by Synthian elders, their faces blurred. Tiny tubes pierced her spine. Essence extraction, phase 37. She is adapting. But she wasn't adapting. She was dying, bit by bit, each healing act slicing away a part of her soul. A child screamed for help. Vera lifted her hand. The elders nodded approvingly. She healed and wept. Kale reached her. That's what they did to you? It's not just what they did, it's what I let them do. No, Kale said fiercely. It's what they made you believe was the only way to be worth something. He pulled her close. Their surroundings shifted again. Color bloomed. Lights of every shade burst from the white, teal, gold, crimson, violet, each pulsing to the rhythm of two heartbeats converging. Kale and Vera now floated in a space woven of shared memory and mutual pain. Around them, fragments of their lives drifted, a soldier's badge, a broken vial of essence. A flower from the greenhouse. A single glowing thread of bond. The ceremony demanded one final offering. A choice, to fuse not just memory, but judgment. Vera turned to Kale, her fingers trembling. If we do this, there's no going back. You will feel what I feel. The burdens, the failures, the essence I wasted. Kale's eyes softened. I already feel it. She searched his face for hesitation, found none, then reached for him. They clasped hands. Impact. Essence surged like liquid fire, spiraling through their limbs, their veins, their minds. Lights synchronized. Vera's Vonsang blazed brighter than ever, spiraling in elegant glyphs across her arms. Kale's scars shone golden, no longer remnants of survival, but symbols of becoming. Their hearts beat, thump, 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 then merged into one single cosmic pulse. A voice, ancient, sexless, rippled through the space. Merge accepted. And then darkness. Soft, whole, restful. They awoke lying on the floor of the soulfold, still breathing, still themselves, but changed. Vera turned her head toward Kale. Did we just, spiritually, have a galactic wedding? Kale blinked. I think you owe me a honeymoon. She smacked his shoulder, then laughed, and when she laughed her glow pulsed playfully, the color of ripe starlight. They stood, no ceremony, no applause, but inside them, something ancient and quiet had shifted. They had chosen each other. Not despite the pain, because of it. And somewhere in the white above them, their fused heartbeats echoed like distant drums. Two lives, once broken, now indivisible. Course locked. The console hummed as Kale leaned back in the co-pilot seat, boots propped on the dash like he'd owned the place since birth. He looked across the cockpit toward Vera, who sat poised, all elegance and soft glow in her black bio-armor. Outside the wraparound glass, the stars slid silently across the void. A nebula pulsed in the distance, purple and blue like the breath of a living god. It was their first shared command, not as patient and healer. Not as captive and savior, but as something else, something boundless. Vera's hand danced across the interface, not touching, merely guiding it with thought. Their next destination lit up, a red-ringed moon classified as non-compliant refugee sector. They've got a tri-blood outbreak, she said. Kale whistled. Dangerous? She nodded, then tilted her head, curious. Scared? He grinned. You're glowing, must mean I'm excited. She rolled her eyes, but smiled. The essence between them pulsed like a third passenger. It was no longer unstable, no longer volatile. It was alive, balanced, listening. When Vera shifted slightly to adjust her seat, a thin, radiant filament slid down her neck and curled around her collarbone, like liquid silk. It danced to her pulse. Kale stared. You keep looking at me like that, she murmured. We'll miss the approach vector. You keep glowing like that, and the whole galaxy's gonna need sunglasses. They laughed. And just like that, somewhere between a joke and a gesture, an ache lifted. They weren't fugitives anymore, not patients, not liabilities. They were space-born healers with a mission and a bond forged through war, blood, essence, and unbearable choice. Vera leaned forward suddenly, narrowing her eyes. You forgot to adjust the calibration on the medpod arm, again. On purpose, Kale said smugly. She raised a brow. Excuse me? I like the way you roll your eyes. Very. Healing. He earned a hard nudge in the ribs for that. Time passed. Soft music played from an old human data chip Kale had restored. Vera pretended to hate it. Her feet tapped along anyway. A sudden alert pinged. Kale sat up straighter. Incoming distress signal. Civilian pod. Drifting. Vera looked at him, no hesitation in her eyes. Let's go. As the ship veered toward the signal, Vera stood and approached Kale's chair. Without asking, without explaining, she leaned in, nose close to the base of his neck. Inhaled. Deeply. He flinched. Okay, that's the third time this hour. Just checking your vitals, she said innocently. He turned, smirking. You do that a lot lately. Her cheeks glowed slightly violet. Must be something in the air, she murmured. Their fingers brushed on the control panel, and the glow beneath their skins merged in slow spirals, twining up like twin helixes. One light, two hearts, shared mission. Kale whispered, So, we're space doctors now? Vera glanced sideways. With occasional sarcasm therapy. He nodded solemnly. Important for healing. The cockpit dimmed slightly as they entered the magnetic field of the refugee moon. Outside, the starlight bent like silk in water. And somewhere, deep inside the engine's hum, beneath the console vibrations, beneath thought itself, two synchronized heartbeats pulsed in tandem. One from Earth, one from Cynthia Prime. No ceremony, no declaration, no medals, just this moment. And the quiet knowledge that they'd chosen each other through pain, through chaos, through impossible biology. And now, they chose the universe. As the ship curved downward into atmosphere, the nebula behind them bloomed violet and gold across the viewport. The stars shimmered like breath held too long. Their hands clasped briefly, fingers interlocked. The glow that erupted was no longer just essence, it was memory, trust, love. And somewhere in the stars, two broken beings became one light. Two broken beings defied protocol, crossed species lines, and rewrote what healing means. On the edge of extinction, they chose light. Would you bond beyond fear? This is Sci-Fi Sky.